In the depths of every person, there is a whisper hard to name. It is the self-destruction of what one has always desired. We love, then doubt, we build, then destroy with our own hands. Like a mirror reflecting an invisible crack, our soul harbors a shadow, the one always waiting to deny the joy just blooming. But, dear friend, that is not punishment from outside, but a call from within the unconscious, inviting us to look into our own forest, beckoning us to step through, where what seems destructive becomes the path to wholeness. Dear friend, pause for a moment and listen. In the depths of your heart, perhaps you have witnessed yourself quietly destroying what you cherish most. A friendship you treasure, but inadvertently push away. A dream taking shape, but clouded by doubt. A joy just budding, but extinguished by your own hand. That feeling as if you stand before a mirror, seeing your familiar face, but behind that glass is a stranger, a shadow, waiting, lurking. In the mirror, the darkness is not an enemy, but a call. It tells you that there is a part of you still unseen, still unacknowledged. You tremble because it feels like living with an invisible destroyer. But in truth, it is a part of your soul, the part you have denied for too long. Like in the dreams I once heard from my patients, the shadow always appears in the form of grotesque figures, ghosts, or whispers from the deep forest, but do not rush to reject it. For in analytical psychology, we know that the shadow does not only carry darkness, but holds the key to the vitality of the soul. It contains energy, passion, and creative power, but because it is suppressed, it turns into self-destruction. I invite you in this first stage not to try to chase away that feeling. Stand before the mirror of your soul and look straight into the crack. Ask yourself, what is the shadow in me whispering? Is it destroying to warn or to clear the way? Only by daring to ask this question do you begin to step into the forest of the unconscious where your true journey begins. After daring to look straight into the mirror of the soul, you realize that the darkness no longer stands still behind the glass. It opens a door, leading you into the primal forest, the eternal symbol of the unconscious. The forest here is not just intertwined leaves or paths covered in green moss, but a spiritual labyrinth. With each step you take, whispers rise, as if from thousands of dreams never recalled. There is the laughter of the child you once were, mixed with the cry of a buried pain. There is faint light filtering through the leaves, but swallowed by the dense darkness, and there, hidden among the trees, is your shadow. But now it is no longer a flat figure in the mirror, but a living entity with eyes, with breath in ion. I once wrote that the shadow is the narrow door leading to transformation. The forest you are entering is that space, the land where instinct and soul meet. Here, the shadow emerges not just as a destroyer, but as the guardian of a treasure, creative energy, passion, and the primal nature you have suppressed. But to touch that treasure, you must pass through fear. When you see yourself destroying what you love, understand that it is the cry for help from the forest of the unconscious. It invites you to return to the forgotten part, for only by reconciling with the darkness can you return to the light in wholeness. Like in Greek mythology, heroes always enter the darkness. Orpheus descends to the underworld to reclaim Eurydice. Hercules faces monsters in the night. Likewise, you cannot step into true life without daring to touch symbolic death, the death of the illusion of a perfect I without cracks. You are going deeper into the forest. The wind blows, leaves rustle, and the shadow still walks parallel beside you. It says nothing, but that silence is the question. Do you dare to listen to me? You have stepped deep into the forest of the unconscious. No longer distant whispers. Now the sounds in the night ring clearer. You hear breaking noises, like branches snapped, or something destroyed at its root. Each sound echoes like a reminder. You have many times destroyed what you love with your own hands. In this moment, the shadow appears more clearly. It is no longer just a parallel figure, but a personality, a living archetype. In its eyes flashes anger, but behind the anger is the fear of being forgotten. Rejected, it is the very part of the soul you have denied. Desires, anger, weakness, primal passion, because it has been abandoned for so long. It seeks to destroy, for destruction is the only way it forces you to look back. In Aeon, I pointed out, the shadow often holds latent creative power, but it is the source of destruction when we reject it. Remember, the things you cherish, love, work, art, are often harmed by your own hand. This is not because you truly want to destroy them, but because an unconscious part is craving recognition, yet only knows to scream through self-destructive actions. You look straight at the shadow, and it begins to speak not with words, but with images. It shows you fragments, broken friendships due to doubt, a love collapsed by jealousy, a dream you extinguished yourself out of fear of failure. All appear like shattered mirrors, reflecting the times you blocked your own path. But at this point, you realize something profound. The shadow does not want to destroy you. It only wants to be acknowledged, like in mythology. The monster, guarding the treasure, does not keep it from you to hoard it, but to force you to prove your worth. The dragon, Siegfried, slays the Minotaur in the labyrinth, or the serpent, Ouroboros, swallowing its own tail. All are images of the shadow, both destructive and regenerative. In silence, you understand that the only way to stop destroying what you love is to return to that shadow, seeing it not as an enemy, but as a guide. This is the first lesson, which can be called the art of surrender. Surrender to the truth that you are not whole, that within you there is both light and darkness. And it is when you stop denying the darkness that it no longer needs to destroy. When you fall into moments of self-destruction, instead of asking, why am I like this? Try asking, what is the forgotten part of me trying to say? That question opens the door to dialogue with the unconscious, an act Jung called imaginatio activa, active imagination, a method to converse with inner images instead of chasing them away. And you realize the darkness in the forest is no longer just a threat. It becomes a voice, a companion, and a new mirror, not a mirror of glass, but of life itself, relationships, value, times of suffering. All are mirrors reflecting the shadow, inviting you into the journey of healing and individuation. You continue deeper into the forest and realize that the dialogue with the shadow is not just a brief encounter, but a journey of challenges. With each step, the forest seems to change shape, as if your soul is reflecting onto the surroundings. Intertwined branches block the path. A stream flows backward, and the sky flickers with light and darkness. This is the place of the soul's trials. You no longer face the shadow as an external personality, but must learn to live with it the shadow begins to test you. It shows you images of the illusions you once clung to: a perfect love, a flawless career, a self without mistakes. Then it shatters those illusions before your eyes, as if to say, only when you abandon illusion can you grasp reality. This is the necessary destruction, not to defeat you, but to free you from illusory bonds. In analytical psychology, this is when a person advances to the stage I call individuation, the process of becoming oneself, not by eliminating the darkness, but by reconciling with it. Reconciliation does not mean letting the shadow lead, but learning to listen to it, giving it a rightful place in the inner kingdom. Like a wise king who does not kill the rebel, but knows how to turn the rebel into an advisor. In traditions around the world, this is the hero's trial. Hercules must complete labors. Buddha faces Mara under the Bodhi tree, Christ in the desert. Each faces illusions of power, desire, has fear. And you, in the forest, are the same. The shadow offers you illusions of perfection. And if you grasp them, you fall into self-destruction. But if you see through them, you advance. Remember that you will face this test many times. Each time you feel the urge to destroy what you love, it is a shadow of doubt, a whisper of fear that you will repeat mistakes. This is an initiation rite. Each time you stand before the moment of destruction, it is a trial from the forest. If you fall into fear and refuse to listen, you will be lost. But if you pause or breathe and ask, what is the shadow trying to teach me? You have passed a gate. In mythology, the hero overcomes trials, not by strength, but by understanding. Orpheus fails when he looks back at Eurydice, for he has not learned the lesson of trust. Odysseus can only escape the sea's whirlpool by using wisdom, not strength. You are the same. The only way to stop destroying is to know how to pause and listen. At the end of the forest, you see a river. The river is both fierce and calm. Like your soul, your shadow stands on the other shore, looking straight at you. It is no longer aggressive, no longer angry, but as if waiting. This is the crucial moment. You understand that to cross, you do not need to fight or destroy the shadow, but to accept it as part of yourself. You bow your head, and in humility, you say to the shadow, you are not my enemy. You are me, the part I forgot. And in that moment, on the shadow smiles. That smile is not one of victory, but of reconciliation. Light dawns in the forest. Piercing the dense leaves, you realize that from now on, each time you face the risk of destruction, you will remember this river, that smile, and the promise of reconciliation. The path of individuation has begun, and you are no longer alone. You have passed through the mirror, entered the primal forest, faced the shadow, and stood before the river of trials. Now, a different silence envelops. No longer the heavy silence of fear, but a clear silence. Like after storm, the forest stops roaring, the river calms, and the sky opens its first patch of light. You understand that this journey does not end in victory, but in returning to yourself. The light gradually spreads, but not a blinding light that erases the darkness. This is a gentle, harmonious light. Coming from acceptance, you realize the darkness is still there, the shadow still present, but it no longer needs to destroy. It has found a seat in your inner heart, not as an enemy, but as a companion, a secret advisor. In analytical psychology, I call this a step towards the self, the whole self. The self is not the perfect ego, nor absolute control, but the spiritual center where all opposites, light and darkness, love and fear, creation and destruction coexist in a dynamic balance. You no longer have to choose light against darkness, but learn to let both live. Like in Taoism, yin and yang embrace each other. In each darkness there is a dot of light. In each light, a dot of darkness. You begin to understand why you once destroyed what you loved, because a part of you was abandoned too long. It had to scream to be recognized. When you listen, it no longer needs to destroy. When you share the throne with it, it becomes a resource. And now you see clearly. The energy that once caused your collapse now becomes the drive for you to create, love, and live truly. The image in your mind changes, no longer a murky forest, but a garden. What was once destroyed, a love, a dream, a hope now, like seeds fallen to the ground after a long winter, they begin to sprout. The shadow is no longer the one trampling, but like a gardener, keeping the soil turned so new life can emerge. In alchemical mythology, this is the stage of albedo and rubedo after the dark nigredo. The metal is purified, then becomes gold. In the soul, you undergo the same process. After destruction, there is cleansing, and finally, the radiant wholeness. I invite you to recall each time you feel yourself about to destroy what you love. Pause and ask, what part of me am I forgetting? That question is the key to opening dialogue. It reminds you that the shadow is always there, but no longer against you, if you listen. This journey does not end in the forest, nor at the river. It continues in everyday moments. In love, when you know to listen instead of doubt. In work, when you dare to try instead of blocking yourself. In art, when you let creative instinct rise instead of suppressing. Wholeness is not a destination, but a way of living a continuous harmony between light and darkness. When the final light covers the forest, you understand that nothing is destroyed forever. What once shattered within you now becomes material for growth. What once sowed suffering now becomes a lesson for you to walk deeper into yourself. And the shadow, once the destroyer, now becomes the silent teacher, always reminding you of this truth. True love can only exist when you accept your whole self. You return to daily life, carrying the memory of the forest, the river, and the shadow smile in your heart. You know that each time the light flickers, you can return to that journey, and you whisper like a promise to yourself, I will no longer destroy what I love, for I have learned to love both the light and darkness within me. After the light of wholeness spreads, you think the journey has ended, but in the depths, another door opens. In dreams, you see a new figure, not the fierce shadow, but a gentler one, sometimes in feminine form, anima, sometimes masculine, animus. This is the call from another depth of the collective unconscious. Anima, animus, is a bridge between consciousness and unconscious. If the shadow teaches you to face the rejected part, anima, animus, leads you further toward the primal source of life, toward love, intuition on creation. But at the same time, if you do not recognize them, they can become dangerous tempters, forcing you into illusions, blind passion, or cold indifference. That guide looks at you and whispers, You have learned to accept the darkness within you, but do you dare to learn to love from that very darkness? In mythology, this appears through images of Psyche seeking Eros again, or Sophia in Gnosticism, the lost female wisdom needing redemption, and you understand to stop destroying what you love. You need not only reconciliation with the shadow, but also to learn to connect with anima, animus, the soul part that makes you know true love and creation. They invite you to cross a bridge of light spanning the river. This is not an act of destruction, but of creation. Building an inner bridge to connect unconscious and consciousness, and in each step you realize what you love can only endure when you live in inner harmony, no longer divided. When crossing the bridge, you reach a vast square. In the middle is a stone circle carved with mandala symbols. In that mandala, all opposites, light and dark, male and female, consciousness and unconscious spin, meeting at the center. This is the symbol of the self, the whole self, the center of soul life. The self is not the ego, not the I controlling life. It is larger, more encompassing, and often reveals itself only in dreams, religious experiences, moments facing death or rebirth. The self is the source guiding you through all previous stages. The mirror on the forest, the shadow, the river, reconciliation, and meeting anima, animus. In the mandala center, you see a light radiating, but this light does not erase darkness, but encompasses it, contains it. You understand, destruction and creation are no longer opposing extremes, but two breaths of the same life. What you once destroyed now becomes material for creation. What you once lost now becomes seeds for growth. The self speaks to you, but not with words, through absolute peace. You do not need to seek perfection. You only need to live holy. And when you love, remember to love the dark part that led you here. You leave the square knowing the journey never truly ends, but you have the map, the mirror, the forest, the shadow, the river, anima, animus, and the mandala. Each time facing self-destruction, you can return to this mandala, to find the center again, to remember what you love is only protected when you love your whole self.